Welcome back to the Ellipsis podcast. We're back with the consistency week 2. So we are talking about the exhale today. So go ahead, grab your snacks, grab your pillows, put on some comfy clothes, grab your notebooks, because we are about to dive in. And if you are new, welcome home. So let's dive into this. So everybody's like, what's the exhale? I know how to exhale. Do you really though? So I want you to close your eyes for a moment, and I want you guys to remember a time, and that might even be right now, where you felt like the world was just on your shoulders and you were just holding your breath. And, you were working so hard to push through this moment right now. And you're at the edge of your victory. You're at the edge of your breakthrough. And then finally you reach it. You get the job, you graduate, you beat the case, you receive or detach from certain people in your life, or that promotion comes your way. And now, you release that breath that you have been holding, that you carried, on your shoulders and in your mind. And now you get to breathe it out in the form of an exhale. And in life, we all go through something called the exhale, where we have reached this, capacity in our current positions in the kingdom and in life. And we begin fighting in this period of unseen progression. And while we think that it's a season of waiting, it's really not, because God is moving like crazy. And even though we can't see it, there are angels and people that God is, positioning during this time while you're being prepared in your transition period. And so God will literally put angels and people in certain positions ahead of you to prepare for your arrival. And if you've been through that season, or if you're currently in that season right now where you're feeling pulled and stretched, God is not only expediting your growth to make his last preparations for what's to come for you, you are also, I feel, being picked and pruned. And Lord knows there are so many of us right now, including myself, that are being picked and pruned. Oh my goodness. And right now in this season, some of you might feel like you've been holding your breath and feeling heavy. And, you used to feel light, you used to feel airy. Everything was smooth. You were walking in your purpose. You entered a new transition, and it wasn't hard to transition to that new one. You were flowing and diving, and now you've gotten to the end of that. You've taken your exhale, and now God is moving you into a new season of transition, and he's preparing you, and you're starting to inhale, and it's becoming overwhelming. And, you're so used to seeing favor moving, in that current position where you were. And now people in your life are starting to shift. People at work are starting to move differently and out of line with what was originally aligned and coordinated with what God placed those people in your life for during that current position in the kingdom that God put you in. And a lot of times, even myself, we begin to ask God, okay, God, what you doing? I want to keep these people in my life. You begin to ask God to help you keep your job. You ask him to save those things that you've held so closely for so long because it's comfortable. And God's told you multiple times, I need you to release this. And in order for him to not only give you what you ask for, but to the capacity that he knows that you deserve, because you served his kingdom so well, during this season of telling God yes to your purpose, telling God yes to bringing blessings to your life to help you serve his kingdom at full capacity, you have to be prepared for God to clean out the closet of your heart. So if there's boxes of memories that you've held on to, you can no longer hold on to those things. And God is telling you those have to go. You might have some clothes in your closet that you used to go out in that, are a part of your past, and they look wild. And you've asked God for a good job. You've asked God for a husband or a wife, and you have to prepare for that. God's not going to bring them if you're not ready. And you've prayed for God to, give you a new job. And now everything that could go wrong is going wrong. Your boss has turned on you, and now you've lost your job. And a lot of times this will be prayers that we've actually forgotten about. And we'll be going through a season where we have entered a new transition. Work is great. And now our bosses and everybody starts to flip on us, and we go, God, please, I just need something new. I'm ready to grow. I feel like I've grown to my capacity. Give me something new. And then months or a year will go by and you will forget that prayer. And, so when they creep up on us in God's timing, we eventually start looking left and right because we're wondering what the heck is happening? What is going on? And we're angry at God because we forget. And he softly reminds us, remember, you prayed for this. So I cannot repeat this enough. You have to be serious, prepared, and ready for your pruning season before your harvest day where you can finally exhale. When you give that yes, don't say yes to God, and don't say yes and say use me and then run when he starts to prune you and juice you and you start to feel like a whole smoothie after a while. So when you say yes and you are giving yourself to God and say, God, use me. God, I want you to use me for my purpose. Make sure that you mean it. Because he is going to move extremely quickly. And, some of us has gotten through this season, and some of us are approaching this season, and some of us are in this season, including myself. And one thing you have to understand is we will have multiple seasons like this. And as we begin to discover and walk deeper and deeper into our purpose, these seasons of growth and pruning, when God is about to transition our positions in the kingdom, they only get more and more intense because of our spiritual growth within him and how fast we are growing in him. The enemy will come harder every single time, y'all. I cannot stress this enough. There are going to be seasons where that inhale can be real easy and you take on that new position smoothly. And there are going to be other times where you just want to throw it all away and you've only been in it for 1 week. So you have to understand the enemy will come harder every single time to test you, to see if you are even ready for that new position and for that new season. And that's why it's so important for us to prepare spiritually in the midst of giving our yes, and in the midst of the inhale of pushing through and dealing with your pruning season. There are going to be moments in your life that your next transition is bigger than the last because you are ready. And a lot of times God will grow us so quickly and expedite our growth depending on when and where he needs us to be. And we can't be so focused and trust that things are going to move within the timing that we expect, because a lot of times there are times that he'll give us previews to what our next position is and what it's going to look like. But there are times he's just going to throw us in there and say, go. And we'll think that we're not ready, but we really are. But we always have to make sure that we are in our quiet time and preparing for when we start to feel that pulling and that pruning season coming, because we don't know when and where he needs us. And a lot of times he will feel like we're drowning, and really we are progressing at a tremendous rate, and it's overwhelming. And so you have to remember how to exhale when that exhale comes. And it can feel like we're inhaling and exhaling so fast that we're hyperventilating in times where our position is changing so quickly from position to position to position, and seasons are coming so quickly back to back to back to back to back. And so when it's time to exhale, sometimes we can forget because you've been inhaling so long. And, inhaling means that you are beginning the new transition God has placed you in, and you're getting to work and things are getting heavy. They're getting tiring. They're getting exhausting, and you're learning the new position that you're in. And we know that God's got our backs, In the exhale, that means that we've gotten to a place of triumph within our ourselves and what God has given us to grow with. And now we're in this new transition that he's placed us in, where we're now free and swimming like a fish in the water because we've studied that new position in the kingdom that God's placed us in. And now we know what to do. So just going back to the exhale, there are going to be moments where you are going to feel like, you've forgotten how to exhale. And I want you to remember something, and I want you to listen to me. No matter the position, big, small, old, new, no matter the capacity or the intensity of the position, you've done it before. Nothing's changed. The only thing is it's a new environment. It's the same tricks and new moves. The breathing is the same. It never changes. And the seasons of growth won't always be smooth. And the exhale you're holding may feel like you're about to run out of breath in the season of transition, in the season of pruning. But don't forget to exhale when the breakthrough comes. And I really, really want you to celebrate yourself and celebrate your wins. We don't celebrate ourselves enough. We're so in a hurry to get to the next thing that we don't address the things that we've forgotten how hard we work to get to that exhale, to get to that freedom of triumphing, something that we've carried for so long. I want you to stop. And if you haven't celebrated those things, look back at your life. Look back at the times where you've glanced over times in your life that were the hardest because you were just so happy to be out of it. Celebrate those things. Clap for those things because you deserve it. And, and as much as we don't want the pruning in the season of transition, because it is not the best, and many of us can attest to that, but y'all, there's a blessing in the pruning. Okay, it is. And I remember a friend told me this one time. She said, if you don't want the pruning, you don't want the blessing. And that hit me hard, and I had to go ahead and put that in my pocket. And I'll repeat it again. She said, if you don't want the pruning, you don't want the blessing. So I want you to carry the scripture in your pocket this week. And I wanted to encourage you in the times where you can forget to exhale. Isaiah 43:19 says, don't be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will never fail you nor abandon you. So I love you guys. Don't forget, inhale, exhale. And when you forget how to do it, go back to that scripture, Isaiah 43:19, and let it carry you. Celebrate your wins. And even though the pruning might feel hard right now, that exhale is going to be so worth it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. You have been listening to the Ellipsis podcast with Deja Terry, and I will catch you guys next week. Good night, y'all.